everybody. I would like to call the meeting of our Diversity Committee to order, please. My name is Blanca Lopez. I am the chair of this committee, and I'm joined currently by my colleague, Medora Valdivia, who is our committee member. We're still waiting for Mr. Chu and Mr. Zuckerman to join us, but in the meantime, we can get started with our public speakers. Lourdes, are there any public speakers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Karen, do we have any public speakers?
Good afternoon. We have one member of the public registered to speak today. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules and conduct and decorum. I would also like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we must limit everyone to 2 minutes. The only speaker will be Maddie Bucky's Highland.
Thank you, ma'am, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Matty Bucky's Highland, and I'm an advocate for people with developmental disabilities. For this Diversity Committee month, since you only meet tri-monthly, I want to talk about why diversity is necessary for the disabled community. I was diagnosed with autism at around 2 years old, and at that same time, I had ADHD and OCD. But that house helps me to get stronger every day. As we get ready next month to celebrate Disability Pride Month and the 35th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, we must do more to ensure our disabled brothers and sisters get more funding for the need. Not deporting someone with an autism tattoo, that is disappointing to say the least. We should be proud of who we are as disabled, not treat them like a second-class commodities like we did back in the past. So with that, folks, please have a great day. Get home safely, stay cool, and hopefully we'll get through this heat wave together. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Happy Disability Pride Month, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the public comment session.
Great, thank you very much. Since the approval of the meeting minutes for our last meeting, which was in March, would require a quorum, we're going to skip that for now. And if we can move on to the work plan, are there any updates to the 2025 work plan?
Madam Chair, the 2025 work plan can be found on pages 6 through 9 of the committee workbook. There are no updates.
Great, that being said, if you could take us through the executive summary?
Thank you. We will start with reporting on our Q1 workplace statistics and then move on to recommitment to EO opportunity as well as the all-agency military benefits policy directive. I will ask Dr. Green to report on our workplace.
MTA's current workforce is 74,540 employees. When compared to March 31st, 2024, MTA's workforce has increased by 1,003 employees. While our percentage of self-identified females have remained 19%, we actually increased female representation by 302 employees. Our representation of veterans decreased by 1%, but that decrease is likely due to the change in how we capture the information for veterans in 2024 versus 2025. Our percentage of individuals that have self-identified as an employee with a disability, that remains 1%. However, we actually increased that number by 60 employees. During the first quarter, 2025, MTA hired 1,410 employees, of which 20%, 278, self-identified as female, and 80%, 1,132, self-identified as male. Of the 20% female new hires, 12 were hired into management / executive level positions. Some of those titles included managers, directors, assistant chiefs, and all the way up to police captain. 26 of the new hires self-identified as veterans. and 5 employees self-identified as an individual with a disability during this first 3 months of 2025. FTA requires funding recipients to maintain an equal employment opportunity program. Our next update to MTA's Equal Employment Opportunity Program is going to be due March 1st, 2026, and we will be briefing the Diversity Committee on the updated program. One of the requirements of the Equal Employment Opportunity Program is an annual recommitment to equal opportunity. The enclosed 2025 EO policy statement updates are a copy of the Equal Opportunity policy statements that will be disseminated to all of our employees in an attachment with a letter from the the chair, CEO, and which is signed by all of the agency presidents. That concludes my remarks. Any questions?
I would just like to also give a warm welcome to our new MTA board member, Jim O'Donnell, who has joined us today. Thank you.
Welcome.
He represents Orange County. And yes, Ms. Valdivia, questions?
Hi, thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Green. So remind me, because we're going to have to do a submission in March 2026, how are the changes and executive orders issued by the new administration impacting this report? Because it's really obviously important for us to be in compliance with the law as it relates to all of our federal funding opportunities. So wondering if you could shed a little light on that.
So we are in complete compliance with all of the federal, state, and local guidelines, and our policy statements reflect that. And because there's been so many changes over the past couple of months with respect to what's coming from the federal administration, our policy statements just plainly indicate that we're going to follow the law, whatever the law is at the time. So instead of enumerating the different characteristics or being more detailed, because we don't want to have to constantly keep changing and causing confusion, we just make it clear that whatever the federal law is, state and local law, applicable federal, state, and local law is, we're following it.
And to be clear, law is on the books, passed. So therefore, there aren't really going to be significant changes to our policy statements.
Correct. It's just clarifying what our
That we are in
position-
full compliance.
Correct.
Because we've always been in full compliance. Okay, thank you
Correct.
very much. I appreciate that.
Any other questions? If not, Lourdes, if you want to talk about the military benefits policy, please.
Yes, thank you. Military service members are valued employees of the MTA who are entitled to certain benefits under New York State and federal law. The all-agency military benefits policy provides all-agency guidance on the pay and leave benefits available to qualifying service members during military leave and is an effort to standardize practices across the MTA agencies. The policy itself and the staff summary can be found on pages 22 through 29 of the Diversity Committee book. As background, the MTA issued all-agency policy directive number 11-092, which is the military leave reporting on MTA reemployment after return from service in May of 2025. That policy governs the reporting to work obligations and reemployment rights of employees returning from leave of absence related to military service. The all-agency military benefits policy proposed addresses the pay and leave benefits, whereas the already issued reemployment policy addresses the reemployment rights of returning service members. The policy is relevant to all personnel. Those personnel that are representative, for those personnel that are already represented, the relevant collective bargaining agreement terms will prevail. In short, The policy before you notes an employee entering active military duty is entitled to a leave of absence without pay from their position while engaged in and while going to and from ordered military duty for a term not to exceed 5 years for voluntary service. Pursuant to New York State statutory entitlement or the applicable collective bargaining agreement, an employee is entitled to receive their salary while on leave for ordered military duty on normally scheduled workdays. Employees who have exhausted military leave with pay and who are called to active duty in connection with covered operations are entitled to a reduced pay benefit equivalent to the difference between the employee's regular base rate of pay and their military base pay. Employees may receive paid leave without charge to leave credits up to 5 working days of paid leave annually for using any healthcare-related services associated with an illness or injury sustained while in a combat theater or combat zone of operations. This policy was developed by the MTA, and a vote of approval is requested of the Diversity Committee prior to submission to the full board for approval at this month's meeting.
Thank you. Having said that, I make a motion. May I have a second, please? Ms. Valdivia, any questions, comments? If not, all in favor? Okay. Any opposed? No? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And with that, if you don't mind, if we can go back to the meeting minutes?
Yes.
Is that okay? Just so that we're covering all of our bases here, we would like to take a motion to approve the March 24th meeting. As everybody knows, this committee meets on a quarterly basis. I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes. May I have a second? Ms. Valdivia, all in favor? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, if you would like to continue through the executive summary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will be reporting on 2024-25 MWDBE activity, beginning with contract compliance activities, and I will ask Deputy Chief Ray Burke to make that report.
Good afternoon. The Contract Compliance Unit monitors almost 1,300 contracts daily. Compliance meetings with prime contractors on contracts not meeting their goals are scheduled regularly. Site visits are scheduled daily and conducted to mitigate and address potential fraud. In the first quarter of this year, there were 163 site visits were conducted, an average of almost 55 site visits a month. Contract goal waivers are requested and entertained at the 75% of contract completion. Waivers are reviewed thoroughly, must include the required good faith effort, documentation, and supporting documentation, and will not be approved without project management concurrence. DDCR closes contracts after they are closed by the respective agency. In the first quarter of the year, Contract Compliance Unit closed 60 contracts, an average of 20 closed contracts per month. That concludes that report. Okay, I'm going to go over the highlights as far as subcontractor awards and prime contractor awards. For DBE Primes contracts, Nathaniel Rand was awarded a $1 million contract, HQ contract, for waterfall IT equipment used to implement cybersecurity initiatives for the railroads. For DBE subcontractor, Crossroads JV was awarded a New York City Transit C&D contract for $15 million for pre-cleaning for steel repairs. El Sol Contracting was the prime. MBE Prime, Zion Contracting LLC, was awarded a New York City Transit C&D Prime Award contract for $51 million as an electrical contractor. MBE subcontractor RMD Electric was awarded a subcontract for New York City C&D for $26 million for radio communication. Novelist Tile was the prime. WBE Prime, Empire Control Abatement, won a New York City Transit C&D Contract Prime Award for $46 million for lead abatement. For WBE subcontractor, the McKissick Group, won a subcontract for $41 million under the Small Business Mentoring Program. I'm struggling.
McKissick.
WSP joint venture was the prime. SDVOB Prime, Transit Resources won a New York City Transit HQ prime contract for $3 million for subway car camera contract. And SDVOB subcontract, Minotti Enterprise LLC won a $7 million HQ contract for safety consultant services. That concludes that report.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Burke. I don't know if there are any questions from members of the committee.
Hi, thank you, Chair and Lourdes. Maybe I missed this. I see McKissick Group, but it says /WSP JV transition. So how does that work? Because obviously WSP is not an MWBE. So just wanted to understand like how that worked if they do a joint venture.
Okay, so as a prime contractor, they joint ventured with WSP. But when they do their utilization plan, they can use one of the joint ventures to participate as on the contract. And that was McKissick.
So I see. So as a joint venture, putting that aside, McKissick is still the whatever percentage that they get of it, that's what's quote counted as part of the utilization?
Well, McKissick and WSP weren't really, I don't think they're certified as a joint venture. I'm not quite sure on that
I
contract.
figured they weren't, right?
No, they're
McKissick
not.
is certified and then
They're not.
WSP is not. And
Right.
so how does that work in terms of, like, yeah, maybe I'll ask you offline. Thank you. I just wanted to understand how
crediting?
how MWBE requirements apply to joint ventures in which one partner is a non-MWBE firm.
Well, the one that is certified can perform on the contract as a subcontractor. And that's how they get
I
the
see.
credit.
So even though they're a prime, they can also perform as a sub.
Yes.
And then.
They can
Okay.
somewhat self-perform.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Be asking Deputy Chief Christine Norman to report on our utilization.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'll start by explaining the SDVOB utilization and payments. We are currently exceeding our fiscal participation targets for service-disabled veteran-owned businesses compared to the previous fiscal year. Out of more than $892 million in MTA payments issued so far this fiscal year, 7% of those payments have been awarded to certified SDVOB firms. And this marks a strong performance and continued commitment to supporting veteran-owned businesses across our contracts. Okay. When we consider MWBE utilization and payments, MWBE engagement has increased compared to the previous fiscal year. Of the more than $2.7 billion in payments issued by the MTA, MWBE participation accounted for over 32% of the total payments. Over the next couple of months, we will begin an audit of all payments made in 24-25 and expect to report our final numbers in September once authorized by ESD. Okay. For the DBE program awards, the percentages continue to lag. So there's currently a shortfall of the DBE participation when compared to the last fiscal year. This, again, is driven by design-build contracts with wards with underdeveloped scopes. But we expect that it will improve over time. Okay. So our outreach activity from January to March of 2025, DDCR has participated in 5 outreach events sponsored by various advocacy groups. Additionally, DDCR held one virtual DBE certification workshop and one virtual new firm orientation for vendors interested in doing business with the MTA. Of the 141 firms engaged last quarter, 31 had no MWDBE or SDVOB certifications, so we are currently exploring certification eligibility with those firms. Okay. And for our DBE certification activity from January through March, we received 23 DBE applications and have certified 14 new firms in an average time of 64 days. We are making an effort to increase the number of applications and always promote DBE certification at events with the various organizations within our network, reminding all of the firms of the benefits of certification and to seek certification with the MTA, as we are one of 4 certifying partners in New York State. Okay. And lastly, we like to bring the committee's attention to examples of non-construction awards made by the MTA procurement. Here we're highlighting MBE success, Watts International. And Watts International has been doing business with the MTA for more than a decade. And over the past 5 years, they've gained consistent momentum and have earned close to $13 million, supplying the MTA with a variety of janitorial and miscellaneous items, including air filters, sealants, lubricants, batteries, gloves, multipurpose cleaners, and propane, right? These supplies were acquired through discretionary bids, competitive bids, and by OGS state contract. And so Watts International successfully maintains inventory to meet the changing needs of MTA's vast operations and strives to provide excellent customer service. They're also a subcontractor on a larger MRO contract with Grainger. And so they provide, not only do they supply us with goods and services, they deliver services throughout our operating territory. And they also inform MTA staff about product use and the availability of a variety of goods and services under the Grainger contract. So we have a great relationship with Watts International MBE. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Owens. Any questions from the committee members?
Hi, okay, I have a question. So can you go back to the chart about application timeline? Yes, the one after.
This one.
As you all know, I worked at the MTA, and during my tenure here, there was a lot of focus on application timeline, how long it takes to process. There was also a lot of focus on construction contractor payments. And what I would love to see is kind of a chart, and maybe we can talk offline about how to do this, a chart that shows like average time on payments, because I know for construction payments and to close out contracts, payments matter. And and as a small business too, whenever I'm engaging with government, I know that payment's going to be very slow. And so I'd like us to find some kind of metric to be able to create visible how long it takes to pay our firms. I defer to all of you on kind of how to best do that. But I think in addition to, because you had a chart about how many payments made, that's great. More payments, the better, and I love the focus on that. But I kind of want to understand timelines too, to see if, do we tend to be slower than other agencies, faster than other agencies? I think that just would be good information to have so we can evaluate it. And I really appreciate the company kind of focus points. I think that's really great to see the profile of these companies and get a sense of this community, right? This community is so important to our region, and there's so much work you have all done to make sure that the pipeline is really readily available. And we have a huge capital plan coming up. So we need more of these companies. So kudos to you all. 34% is incredible. Like really, really amazing. So thank you all. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. As was reported in the previous committee meeting, we are spending a lot of time trying to figure out how we can improve the process for our hub businesses and their engagement and their experience in working with the MTA. And Ray and his team do an amazing job of tracking and trying to address in as timely a manner as possible those concerns that come to our attention with respect to timeliness of payment. And he has a great relationship with the procurement team and all the teams that are relevant to making sure that invoices get paid. Tracking 1,300 contracts at any given time and tracking the payment timeliness is certainly a challenge. We'd have to take a look at how we could best address it. I think it's a worthwhile metric to look at, and we're also making sure that we're tracking where there may be some trends and some challenges, because we have found in many instances where we're getting complaints from hub businesses about payments not being process, and then as we do some digging, we find that there's some challenges in the documentation or the paperwork or the invoices are not really done. So what really constitutes a delay in payment, that is the responsibility of the MTA, because we've received the required documentation, but we're being slow, versus a challenge in getting the documentation that we need in order to properly release a payment. And so that's ongoing conversations that Ray and his team are tracking, and we're monitoring and trying to figure out. But point very well taken, and certainly we can take a look at what makes the most sense. Ray's loving those kind of ideas. I could see it in his face. Are there any other questions? All right, we'll move on to an update on our small business development program. I will ask Deputy Chief Cherie Owens to make that report, please.
Sure. Good afternoon. Okay. Next one. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to give you an update on the Small Business Mentoring Program and the new JV. McKissick & McKissick, the JV transition is now completed. We have onboarded 9 consultants with an additional 5 employees due to be brought on board for program management. Key positions that have already been filled are program manager, pre-qual director, training manager, MWDBE and STVOB recruiter, graduate transition and alumni manager, 2 MWDBE and STVOB contract compliance managers, and 2 back office support liaisons. As far as the pre-qualification process, DDCR now manages the pre-qualification unit. The pre-qualification unit manages the application review process, the bidders list, the back office support, including enhancements such as capacity reviews, customized action plans, and one-on-one technical assistance for the firms. The application review, the pre-qualification team is revising the applications to create a more streamlined and efficient process. We are taking the application, the application is currently offline until the end of June to facilitate a thorough review and complete the application updates. The training curriculum, the training program is being enhanced to create mandatory MTA core classes aligned with current MTA standards, compliance requirements, performance expectations, and safety requirements, with optional business development courses that will be delivered as elective based on the contractor's needs. And lastly, the rebranding to MTA Edge. WSP is leading the MTA Edge rebranding effort. They're in the process of aligning the rebranding efforts with the program requirements. The rebrand and relaunch will be completed in the 4th quarter of 2025. Okay. And these are the current awards for the program to date. We have 5 contracts awarded with a total of $5.8 million as of quarter 1, sorry. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Owens. So again, we've got 5 that have been awarded so far, but we are anticipating a very busy June and July
Yes.
summer season, and certainly by the end of the calendar year in order to reach our $74 million goal for the calendar year. Any questions with respect to the Small Business Mentoring Program?
Remind me again, for this program, is it just contractors, construction contractors, or has it expanded to professional services?
It is right now just construction contractors, and we did propose an amendment to the legislation, to
It's
the
state
Small Business
legislation, right?
mentorship program to allow us to add construction-related industries. Unfortunately, we didn't get it done this legislative
Okay.
session, but it is number one on my priority for the next legislative session.
Thank you. Appreciate that reminder.
Yeah. Thank you. So we will move forward with updating on Q1 ERG events. I will ask Deputy Chief Evita Marrow to make that report, please.
Hi, good afternoon. So our Latinos and Friends Employee Resource Group on Wednesday, April 9th, hosted a Cafecito chat, an invitation to have coffee and to welcome or get to know a person in the Hispanic community is referred to as a Cafecito chat. For this reason, our Latinos and Friends ERG invited Justin Vonishak, president of Metro North Railroad, to attend an informal chat designed to provide MTA employees with an opportunity to learn about his MTA executive role and to obtain professional insights. Our Young Professionals Employee Resource Group hosted a transit theme Tringo, which was a transit theme bingo night open to employees, all employees from across the agency. This event encouraged colleagues to network, meet new people, make new connections with individuals from different departments in a fun, laid-back setting. The event started with a guided network component, which was followed by an hour-long transit theme bingo session, which participants learned about MTA transportation and had an opportunity to win some fun MTA branded prizes. Our next event, which was hosted by our Pride ERG in collaboration with the Generation Project and the Transit Museum on April 24th. The Transit Museum, The Subway is an exhibit that highlights the millions of people and or objects that are used and are part of the New York City subway. It highlights the history and future of the transit system with artifacts, photos, multimedia installations, models. This year's exhibit focused on a program that provided a platform to uplift LGBTQIA+ voices to highlight our MTA colleagues and their work experiences. Pride Express, in partnership with the Generation Project, participated in this exhibit by sharing their stories in a curated program to include storytelling at the Transit Museum. We also had a AAPI Heritage Month program hosted by our Transport Asian ERG. So this celebration of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, in participation with an organization called Make Us Visible, hosted a presentation focused on the contributions, history, and experiences of the Asian American community. Our Transport Asian ERG members, Vidya Jaikaran, and Geeta Vora, along with Kate Lee and Jeff Gu of Make Us Visible, highlighted some notable yet overlooked Asian American figures and their contributions to United States history. Make Us Visible is an inspiring organization dedicated to promoting AAPI representation through their education and advocacy. Our Veterans ERG hosted a Memorial Day commemoration on May 22nd. The ERG group commemorated Memorial Day with a wreath ceremony in the lobby of 2 Broadway. The Veterans ERG Vice President Jesse Walker, along with Veterans ERG Treasurer Angela Walker, gave words of remembrance and honor of service members who made the ultimate sacrifice to ensure freedom for all. Thank you to all of the veterans who serve. Lastly, our multicultural ERG, along with their executive sponsor, Jamie Torres Springer, President, Capital and Development, and Peter Crawford, Assistant Director, Construction Manager for Metro North Railroad, a multicultural member, hosted a tour of Grand Central Madison. The tour began at Grand Central Terminal and progressed through Grand Central Madison. The tour had stopping points of interest, paying homage to the diverse talent instrumental in the construction and design of Grand Central Madison. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Marrow. Madam Chair, if there are no questions from the committee, that concludes our report.
Thank you very much. Seeing that there aren't any questions, if I could have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Ms. Valdivia. Second? I will second it. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.